Hi everyone, Kathy Beltran with Sacred Dance with Trance. I'm super excited to have Caz Dukes from the UK. She's a spiritualist medium and tutor of Trance and Altered States. I'm so grateful because she joined the groups and has allowed me to interview her. I'm so very grateful to you, everybody. Caz Dukes.
Oh, thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure and honour that you've even asked me to do this. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you. I also wanted to bring up that you actually have a group yourself called the Acorn Academy of Mediumship,
That's
right?
right. Yes.
So
Yes.
we'll definitely put all those posts
from my home.
right. Okay, I'm definitely gonna attach those to the interview as well, so we can connect with you as well. And I also know that you have 4 CDs out through CD Baby.
I do. Yes.
Can we talk a little bit about those and what you have?
Yes, by all means. Each CD has got 2 exercises on there. Starting off from the very beginners that have never actually meditated before, so it teaches them how to meditate. The second one moves on from that and just allows you to relax your mind, because I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Yes.
A lot of people struggle with what they call monkey mind. So this hopefully should help them to actually just learn to relax and to train their mind to do that. We move a step on then to the 3rd CD, which we go into looking at the altered states on that CD. So that again trains the mind just to be able to switch off from day-to-day life, to allow that space within your mind for the spirit world to then occupy it. And then we move on to the final one, which is one step deeper, which will take you into that deeper altered state. So it's in a way, it's sort of going from step 1 through to step 4, to train the mind at home as well, because I think sometimes people come to a circle or they go and practice, with a tutor, but then they go home and then they don't do anything for the rest of the week. So hopefully these CDs, they'll be able to take home or download on cdbaby.com, and they can practice at home as well then.
Okay, that's perfect. That's perfect. I'm glad you said cdbaby.com. So everybody check that out. So she has 4 CDs out. I'm so excited because most of all the interviews I do, we always start out with, how did this all start for you? How did you get into mediumship? I mean, some people go back to when they're younger. Some people wait to, much older. Could you let us know how this journey started for you?
Yeah, by all means. It started, again, like most people, as a child. I was aware that I was able to do things that I haven't heard people talk about. I used to be able to astral project, but at the time, I was totally unaware of what it was. All I knew was that every Christmas I could go and see what my parents were wrapping, because I used to be able to go down and watch them do it. And it really began from there. I used to be able to do that at will. I used to lie in my bed, close my eyes and will myself to do it. And as I was drifting off to sleep, I was aware that I was lifting from my body and could just float around, which was great at the time. Got me into a lot of trouble, but it was great.
I bet. Oh my goodness, not too many people. I mean, how old were you when this started happening with you?
I think my first memory, I would have been about 7 or 8. When I first realised, this is great, I can do this. But as I got a little bit older, that sort of faded away, and I was no longer able to do it then. And then, really, to be honest, it wasn't until my grandfather passed that it really kick-started back in. So I would have been about 14 then, when I actually saw him and had a conversation with him. But because I wasn't brought up in a family or in circumstances that spiritualism was any part of, I had the usual response of, well, don't be so silly, and things like that. So I began to think that there was something wrong with me and that it was my imagination. So you try to put it to one side, because obviously you don't want to upset people, you don't want to appear to be, as they called me, a bit of a freak. So you sort of suppress it and try and put it to one side. But that's really where it all began. But it wasn't until later on, when I was about 21, that I actually went to see a medium myself. And all of a sudden, sort of the penny dropped, and it was, wow, somebody understands what I'm talking about for the first time. And she actually said to me, "You can do this," and I was like, "Can I?" So yeah, so that's really where it began. But I didn't actually start sitting in development myself until later on. Obviously, the children came and life takes over. But it was always there. It was always something in the background. But yeah, I started then to develop. I started actually going with a spiritual. It's a company called Spiritualist. They did investigations.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that got me back onto the path of researching, finding out. So I did a lot of research on my own, reading books, the pioneers of the past and things like that, and sort of moved from there. And I sort of went into development by accident.
Wow.
The lady that ran this particular company was looking for more team leaders. So she'd said to me, "Why don't you get a group of friends and all of you just sit and see if any of you can train them up? You've got 8 weeks to train them up to become a team leader for this investigation company." So we did that, and at the end of the 8 weeks, we all enjoyed it so much that we just carried on.
Oh, wow.
So really, it was quite by accident. It was, it wasn't planned.
So was it a paranormal investigation type?
It was, yes, yes,
Wow.
yeah.
Yes,
I mean, I don't do it now. No, I finished that a long time ago. When you start to develop properly, even though, don't get me wrong, I thoroughly enjoyed my time doing that, but you want something on a deeper level. You want a deeper understanding of the spirit world rather than just going looking for ghosts as such.
Yes, yes. And a lot of people start out that way. And
absolutely,
some people, they don't even have that, growing up, they don't have that support because it wasn't.
No, that's right.
Life. I mean, that definitely was with me as well.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how, your grandfather, you had that experience with him. And then
I did, yes.
all these.
I found that it wasn't something. I always thought about it. What happened if I did see somebody? And I always thought I would be petrified. But I wasn't. It was the most wonderful, calm, loving feeling that I got. And it's very hard to describe that feeling of pure love.
Oh, I bet.
And that's really, and then I just thought there is something more to this.
Well, that's good that you saw your grandfather,
Absolutely. I've never seen him since, but that was probably all that needed to kickstart me, really.
Oh my goodness, So did you start developing mental mediumship first before you started?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I started in a circle myself, sort of doing the mental mediumship and all the basics and the foundations. But I found that I was really struggling. I was getting little bits and bobs, but it just didn't sit right. There was something about it that just wasn't me. That's probably the only way that I can put it. I wasn't at that point ever aware of trance, physical, altered states. Nobody had ever explained that side of it to me. So when I had my first experience of an altered state and trance, it absolutely scared the living daylights out of me. Because I didn't know what it was. It wasn't taught in our circle. It wasn't spoken about. So I had no idea what was happening. And I actually walked out of that church that day and thought, I'm never going back, because I was so afraid of it, because I didn't understand it. So and that's one thing now that's made me push even more, so that people do understand it and aren't afraid of it. Yes. That's what drove me, really, was from my bad experience, is to make sure that nobody else has that experience.
Yes, and you know what? That's why I do the interviews. Is there was so much fear about it, and
there is. There is, and again, it all comes back to lack of understanding.
Yes.
The understanding takes away the fear of it. So that's one of my biggest, things that I try to get over to people.
Oh, yes. No, and that's why I'm so glad, because I know you are a sharer of knowledge.
Yes.
And so that's why I'm so grateful for you to be on here with us and sharing with all the members. And, again, I put this on YouTube as well. So hopefully it reaches.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I thought I told you that, but.
You did, yes. You did. It's just still hard to believe that, I'm sitting here in my living room, in my lounge, and this is going to go, you know.
Oh, it is. I mean, oh, I'm just so grateful again. So I figured we would step back, and I wanted to ask you, what is exactly trance and altered states? If you could describe that.
Okay, right. Altered states is where the brain waves in your mind begin to slow down. Okay, it's very similar to when we go to sleep at night time, when you're lying in bed, you close your eyes and you just start to drift into that wonderful place. And as you go deeper into that sleep, you're going deeper into what we'll class as an altered state, to a stage where, first of all, you may still be able to hear your surroundings if the telly's on in the background, but you just can't open your eyes to watch it, and things like that. And altered states works in a very similar way to that, is that you are drifting, your mind and your thoughts are slowing down, and spirit are allowed then to influence you that little bit more, get a little bit closer, until most trance mediums start where they are aware of their surroundings, they are aware of if other people are there and they're asking questions. And at that stage, it's very much 50-50, the medium and the spirit world. But the more you train your mind, the more you allow your mind to be subdued by the spirit world, the more control they have. So you then start looking into your light trance, because there's varying levels of trance as well.
Would trance be an active or a passive state?
Oh no, it's absolutely passive. Absolutely. You have to learn and train your mind to be still. You have to learn and train your body to be still, so that the spirit world can join with your energy, so that then the blending of those energies can become as one. If your mind's very active, it's very difficult for them to actually do that. It's very difficult for them to take that hold of your mind. So no, it's a very passive, and it's beautiful, beautiful.
Yes, and I know about that busy mind.
Yes.
It's very hard to get past that busy.
Absolutely is. And I don't think it matters how long you've been doing this, you still struggle with that monkey mind. Especially, depending on what day you've had, what's happening in your life at the time. You are able to switch off from external noises, which is good. But you do still struggle with that.
And I like how you called it the monkey mind, because the monkey mind, for sure. And you know what? This brings me back to one thing. How long have you been developing with trance and altered states? How long have you been doing that?
Round about 6 years now. So in a way, it's still quite, in my eyes anyway, it's still quite at the very beginnings, because there's so much more yet to learn, so much more to understand and to be involved in. But I don't think we ever stop learning. I don't think we ever come to a stage where anybody can actually say, yes, they know it all, because they don't.
No. And I know that I've interviewed so many people, they're still learning. They've
Absolutely.
been doing it 30 years, 40 years, and they're still
That's
doing
right. You learn every time you sit.
Yeah.
You learn from the spirit world, you learn from the people that you are sat with, you learn from when I go out and do workshops, you learn something new from them. And tutors, in my eyes, still need to be taught. Just because they're out there and they're teaching doesn't mean that they still don't need to be taught themselves. So again, that's one thing that I'm still very involved with, is actually going and being the student again, which I love. I love that side of it.
Is there an area of trance that you're more interested in? Some people like the healing part, the philosophy.
It's how can I put this? The trance that I knew a few years ago has changed and altered. It's sort of morphed more now. We're moving on the edge of physical now.
Okay.
So the speech, the philosophy, a lot of that has stopped. So because we're moving now, and we sit now and have been for the past 3 years for physical,
Okay.
it's more instruction, it's more guidance that we get now, rather than full-blown philosophy and things like that. So it's changing all the time.
So with the guidance, you get that from your guides as your...
Yes. Yeah.
A lot of people have this question, like my next question would be, what is your interpretation of sitting in the power? Some people call it sitting in the power. Some people call it just meditation. What is your interpretation of that? Or do you even call it that?
Absolutely. I'm actually doing a workshop on Saturday called Sitting in the Power.
Oh my God. So let's backtrack. Caz also has workshops. And Caz, do you do this strictly in person, or do you have online ones as well?
No, it's in person.
Okay.
I think with altered states and trance, you need to be there, because a lot of trance and altered states is about feeling it. It's about being present in that moment. So for me, I don't think that, I mean, but this is only my opinion, of course, but for me, online, teaching trance and altered states, you can give exercises, but you're not there in that moment to feel it, because you have to feel it. That's part of it. So no, I tend to go out and I do them at my own centre, and then I also do them out at other places as well.
Well, yeah, I wish we were closer, because I know you're in the UK and I'm in the US. So, so with the sitting in the power, what is your thoughts on that?
To me, there's two sides of sitting in the power. One, you have sitting in your own power, because you have to learn what your own power feels like, where your own power is sitting with you at that point in time, so that you can expand your power, you can help sustain your own power. So before we sit, or before I teach sitting in the power of spirit, I usually get them to learn how to interpret their own power. Because if you know what your own power feels like, you know then when you have a spirit person joining with you.
Yes.
So, but if you don't know your own power, you will always question, is that me or is that them? But if you know your own power, you will know it's them.
No, it's them.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
And then for sitting in the power for the spirit world, for me, what we tend to do is make it really simple, actually. There's so much that you could complicate it with, and to me, there's no need for that. There's no need for anything complicated. You simply sit. You sit, you allow the spirit world to blend with you, you feel their energy around you, you allow that to join and become as one, and you just sit in that power. And if you can sustain your own power, then you will sustain that link with them a lot longer.
Wow. Okay. How often should somebody do this?
As often as they possibly can.
Okay, good.
Even if they can only afford 10 minutes a day, that's 10 minutes more than what they had the day before.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
So, the more that you can sit and just allow them to blend with and get used to your energy as you get used to their energy, the better. But I would recommend every day if you can.
Every day, yeah. Perfect. I get asked a lot of questions sometimes about having an automatic trance experience. Is that possible to, or is that where, when somebody would have that type of experience, would it be like spirit letting them know that they have this ability to go in that direction?
I think so, yes. I think so. I mean, again, I can only speak from my own experience. I never wanted to do trance. I never asked for trance. It wasn't something that I went into this with the desire to be that medium that gave them beautiful messages.
Yes.
When I had my first experience of trance or an altered state, where I actually felt a spirit person blend with my energy to an extent that I wasn't me anymore, it petrified me. I didn't know it was going to happen. I had no warning. There was nothing. All I knew was that the way that I was sitting at that point in time just wasn't right for me. And I used to question and say, why is this not working? Why don't I feel this? And all of a sudden, out of the blue, boom, I've got this person joining with me out of the blue. And it was like, oh my goodness, what's that? What's happening?
Oh my.
Because I felt like I had an extra heartbeat. I felt like somebody else was breathing. And it scared the hell out of me.
Wow, yeah, you're describing that pretty interesting. I would be very afraid as well to have that.
Absolutely, because I didn't understand it. I mean, now that I understand it, to me, my goodness, I feel so honoured. You know, I feel so blessed that they've chosen to work that way with me. You know, because to me, it's one of the most beautiful forms of mediumship you can get, along with physical, of course.
Along with physical. Can someone develop trance on their own without being in a circle?
That's a tricky one, because you can blend on your own. You can use that sitting in the power on your own. But why would somebody, excuse me, why would somebody from the spirit world spend time developing trance with somebody when there's nobody there to talk to? You know, it takes a massive amount of energy and time for the spirit world to actually work with you in that way. But it's defeating the object, because they've come to say something. They've come to spread the word or to tell them about the spirit world. But if there's nobody there for them to talk to, that, you know, I can't see as they would want to waste that time and energy, to be honest.
Okay. Okay. Well,
I mean, absolutely can blend and get used to their team's energy and get used to who their guides are, or their friends, as I call them, who they are. Absolutely, you can do that on your own. But I just think you not only that, you get that extra power, that extra energy from sitters.
So eventually they would be guided. If they were trying to do it on their own, they would definitely have to go into a circle and get sitters.
In my opinion, and how I think of it and how I feel about it, then definitely yes.
Okay.
They're far better off in a circle.
Okay. I know that you said you're developing right now with your own circle.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're going towards physical.
Yes.
Yes. Can you share any experience that you have had so far with your circle developing with the physical?
Yes, if you like. We don't tend to publicise it too much, because one of the things that we tend to do is keep it in-house to a certain degree, because you do get people that tend to want a part of it. Does that make sense? And you have to get the harmony so right within your circle.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm. You can't allow people to, as we say, take a chunk out of that. But at the very beginning, we had the usual, the knocks, the taps. You know, on command, they would answer questions for us. They, you know, by tapping and things like that. Which that happened for a good 12, 18 months. Then we seemed to get nothing at all, not a thing.
Wow. The
energy was there. We knew that the spirit world was there. But we also found that they were working not just with me, but on me as well. They were changing something in me, which again, you had to go through that process. So you have to be so patient. You have to allow it to unfold in their time, not our time. But now we seem to have got that balance right again. We seem to be taking another step forward. Obviously, I'm within the cabinet when we do sit. Mm-hmm. And about 18 months ago, we were instructed that I had to be restrained to the chair. Wow. So we began that process. And again, once we'd done that, it took time again then to readjust, because I've got to get used to it as well. So at the moment, some of the things that we have a shamanic drum where they play on the drum. We have a little wooden rattle that they shake, you know, have a little shake of the rattle. I always wear a hoodie when I'm sitting. I've had the hoodie pulled up over my head, even though I've been restrained to the chair.
Wow.
I've had my restraints taken off as well. So it's a lot of things, but we're trying now to get that power to be outside of the cabinet rather than in it.
Inside, okay.
So, I mean, we are in the very, very early stages, we really are, but it's amazing.
It still sounds so exciting. And a lot of the people
that excitement before you go to sit is brilliant.
Oh my goodness. You mentioned harmony within it. Oh my goodness. Everybody has said that you have to have that perfect harmony.
Oh, you do. Absolutely. You all have to be on the same page. I mean, one of our biggest things is that we never sit with expectation. We never expect anything from the spirit world. we sit with an intent, but that's very different to sitting with an expectation. So I mean, again, from my point of view and from my experience, is that when we go into that seance room, when it's our night to sit, I try to go in there as an empty book. I try to leave any feelings I've got, any thoughts I've got outside of that door, so that I hand it basically to the sitters and say to them, you know, I'm now empty, you know, ready for them if they need me to work. But the harmony, you all have to be on the same page, you all have to have an understanding, and you all have to really, really get on with each other as well.
Yes, you do.
You know, the slightest little bit of disharmony within the group, and you may as well not sit.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because a lot of people do ask that, you know.
Yeah. It is very important. It's very difficult to find the right sitters, not just for physical, but for trance as well. Very, very difficult to find the right sitters, because your sitters have to be taught how to sit. And I know that sounds quite strange, but if they've got to learn how to work with the energy, how to interpret the energy, they've got to learn how to connect with the medium so they know what's happening with the medium. So you have to teach the sitters how to sit as well.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. You talked about earlier about how you had all this activity for 12 to 18 months, and then next, you know, everything stopped.
It did, yes.
And you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because people do ask that, like, you know, or people have said that they've had those experiences where everything stops, and they still continue to sit. And
yes.
I like how you said that they were working on you physically, doing something, because they, one of the things I like is when you think nothing's happening, something is still happening. You just, you know.
To me, when nothing's happening, that's as important as when something is happening. Because they're working in the background, they're changing something, they're altering something so you can move forward. So to me, even though, you know, people are watching this and they're thinking, well, we're getting absolutely nothing. Good. I'm glad you're getting nothing, because that means they are working in the background, and at some point when the time is right, you will take a step forward.
Wow, I like that. That is really something to look forward to, something to be excited about, you know.
It certainly is.
You mentioned the cabinet. So you, with physical mediumship, before you got into physical mediumship, did you used to use a cabinet at all? Or was it only in physical?
No, only when we started to sit for the physical, yes. Yeah, we didn't when we were doing it in trance. Even though you can use a cabinet for trance as well. But it was something that we found we didn't need. We were sitting at the time in a very small room. There was only really room for sort of 4 of us within that room. So we were in quite a confined space anyway. To put a cabinet up there at that point in time, you know, would have just taken up room that we couldn't afford to lose. So we didn't really need it. It wasn't until things began to progress, and it was the spirit world that asked for a cabinet.
Wow, okay.
So yeah, so we had 2 made, wooden ones made. Myself and the guy who was our circle lead at the time used to sit together, you know, in the cabinets, and then they requested down to 1 cabinet. But it's all about listening to them. It's all about taking your guidance. Thanks, right, the tapping on the telly as I'm talking. It's about taking the guidance from them. You know, you can't go far, because I think as humans we like to try and control things ourselves. We like to try and make those, you know, decisions, but you have to listen to the spirit world. You have to take on board what they're telling you, what you're feeling, you know, the inspirations that they're giving you, and, you know, and listen to them. They know far better than we do.
Yes. So you guys had 2 cabinets. Were you 2 people sitting at the same time?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm assuming you
experiment.
moved to your room after you had those made.
Yes, we had to move to a bigger room. Yes. Yeah. But yes, we would sit at the same time. We would, you know, depending on what the spirit world wanted us to do. It was a case of we would sit outside of the cabinets until they requested somebody went in.
Wow.
You know, so we didn't take it for granted that we would be in the cabinet every night. You know, we waited until we were asked or invited into the cabinet.
Wow.
So
I love that, because you always listening to your guides, listening to the
yes,
guidance and following.
yes.
That's beautiful.
Because they know where we're going. We don't. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, not alone next week, next year, but they do. They know what the plan is, and you know, and to follow that plan that's been set out for you, you've got to listen to them.
Got to. You know, there's a picture that's going around Facebook where there's a spirit guide. There's some big person and a spirit guide's like pushing them, like, come on, go, 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 go. It reminds me of this, where they want you to listen. They're giving you so much beautiful guidance, and just listening to them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
How long after starting your circle did you start to experience phenomena?
Pretty much instantly.
Wow.
We've when I very first started doing home circles, as in from beginners right through to Trance and Altered States, one of the things that I didn't want to happen was people would come to the circle and it would be me saying to them, right, you have such and such stood with you, or the spirit world are here and waiting. I wanted them to know it themselves. So I had a little conversation with the spirit world and said, what can we do to allow these people to know you are here? Because the beginners, they've never sat before. What can we do? And I just came out with, when I'm talking, or when I'm talking about techniques or somebody's progression, can you tap on the television for me? Wow. And instantly came a tap.
Wow.
So that's something that started 6-7 years ago, where they would tap on the television for me. But then they started tapping all around the room as well, and this was before we'd even started physical mediumship. So they used to then go from, I've got 2 CD players within the room, and they would go quickly from one to the other, just tapping all around.
Oh my goodness.
But it was just to allow the people to know, yes, they're here. You know, I also have a scooter in my hallway, my son's scooter, and they used to just bang and rattle that against the radiator.
Oh my goodness.
Again, this was before we started sitting for physical. So there was already an element of that there. You know, but when you think that people have been sitting here for 6-7 years just in normal circles, and this is 4 nights a week, plus my sitting myself in this same room, you know, I had at one point 64 people come in on different nights. They were building power within this room. So the room was already beginning to build power. So it had been building for 6-7 years before we even started to sit for physical. So this isn't a quick process.
No. And I like to make sure people understand that, because people think that they can just, you know, take a course and all of a sudden.
Oh, they do. Yes, everybody wants to run before they can walk.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. No. It really doesn't work that way.
So you actually, do you have a circle 4 nights a week? Is that what you were saying?
I used to do, yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I used to do. Plus the workshops at a weekend as well, and I was absolutely shattered. So because I work in the day as well, I do another, you know, I do my normal daytime job as well. Oh so it got to a stage where something had to give, unfortunately. Yeah. So I started to concentrate more on doing the workshops out and about, trying to get more people involved in altered states and trance. So in a way, trying to take that out there as well. And also to concentrate on my own journey. Yeah. Because I was finding that I was getting so tired from all the circles that I was doing that I didn't have time, and I was far too tired to sit for me. So I had to, in a way, be a little bit selfish as well. And I had to allow that time for me to sit. So yeah, so unfortunately, I don't have all those circles now. I do courses, but I don't, you know, courses from here, but I don't actually have, apart from the circle that we sit in for physical.
Well, that's a lot of balancing, you know, work, doing the circles, you know, if you have little ones. So I think I just did an interview, I think it was yesterday, I was talking with Aiden Hall, and I think a lot of the interview, we were talking about balancing your life, you know.
It's difficult. It is difficult because I think because when you work with the spirit world, it's not a hobby, it's a way of life. So even though you know, you're so drawn to doing it, and your heart and soul is in this, you've still got to pay your bills.
Oh, yes,
You know,
yes.
you still have to pay your bills, you still have to take care of the children, you know, so it is very difficult to get that balance right, you know, and sometimes you have to make sacrifices, you know, with things, to be able to do that.
Oh, yes, yes. So one of the things I like to ask people is within their own circles. People say, what does a circle consist of? Do they sing in the beginning? Do they lift the energy up? What is a typical circle for you like?
That depends on what circle it is.
Okay, okay.
Obviously we've had in the past, we've had beginners circles, which will teach them to meditate and just teach them all the foundations. We don't complicate anything, we try and simplify everything so that they understand it all. We then have our altered state circles, where at the beginning of that they will sit and have a 10-15 minute blending session, so that we literally turn the lights off, so that we're in the darkness, and we just play some background music and we just sit. And that's how we start with that. We then pair up and we do exercises, so that not only are the person who is sitting for the altered state and trance, but also the person who they're paired up with learns how to be a sitter.
Ooh.
So you learn in two aspects of it, you know, within one exercise really. And then it's similar for the trance as well. We sit in the quiet, in the silence, in the dark, allowing the spirit world to blend with us, and training the mind, because you have to train your mind to do this. It's like going to the gym. If you don't train your muscles, you're not going to be able to lift the weights for very long.
That's true.
So your mind is a muscle like that, and you have to train your mind to be silent. And it's not easy. Believe me, it's really not easy. You know.
You talked about your room, how you have done so many circles in there and the energy was already built. When you first start with a group of members and you start, is it important to build the power together? Would that be important to build the power within the circle?
I think if you are sitting in a trance or a physical circle, it's ideal. Excuse me, I'm just going to have a drink. It's ideal to build that power and that energy together. When you're sitting and you've got different circles coming into the room, you've got different energies, so it's very difficult to find that balance. Right, tickling the throat, excuse me.
Oh my goodness. Like me to get a moment?
No, I should be fine, thank you.
Okay.
It's just a little, I don't know where it's come from actually. I haven't got a cough, so.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, so but I think when you sit for, as I say, for trance or for physical, that harmony needs to be there. You know, and you have to make sure that ego isn't in that as well, because ego will kill it dead.
Oh yes. No, I absolutely agree. You mentioned that you started your own circle.
By accident.
And one of my questions was, can anybody start their own circle? But you actually answered that. So anybody can really start their own circle, whether that's for trance and
You've got to understand though that you do need to have somebody there who knows what we're talking about. You do have to have somebody there who's got the knowledge. And who is willing to share that knowledge, because I know, as I say, you know, over the time that I've been doing it, you do find that there's certain people want to keep that knowledge to themselves. So if you're going to set up a circle, make sure you've done your background history, make sure you've worked and you understand what it is, because you've got to teach those people. So you've got to teach them from the beginning in the correct way. So research it, go and sit in other circles, go and see how other circles work, so that you get a feeling of what's right for you in your circle.
No, I think that's great. I think that is important to have somebody knowledgeable in the mix.
You have to do more so with the trance and altered states, because that person has to know what it is, how it works, how you have to learn how the energy works. how you can alter the energy within a room. If the energy is not quite right, what can you do to change the energy? So there's so much that you need to learn and need to. I mean, I wouldn't advise anybody that's never ever sat for it before to suddenly just start a circle up. You know, go and learn about it yourself. Go and listen to them that have been doing it for years. You know, go and sit with them that are at the top of the game. You know, you're people like Scott Milligan and you know, people that you obviously must have heard of Scott.
Yes, I've heard.
But go and sit with Scott. Go and listen to those sort of tutors. You know,
oh my goodness, I just wish that Scott wasn't so far. Like both of you, you're like way over there. But one day I'm going to be over there.
Well, hopefully you'll be more than welcome.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
You never know. One day we might even come to you.
Oh yes! Oh my God! I would definitely come to you if you came this way. I usually like to ask everybody, and if they can remember, how did it feel the first time you blended with spirit?
Oh, when it was blending properly, it was amazing. It was like being wrapped in the warmest, softest, loving energy that you can possibly imagine. Something that you don't experience on this side of life.
Wow.
It's so difficult to put into words because it's a feeling. And obviously everybody interprets that feeling differently. But for me, it was like being at home. It was like finally having an understanding of where I belonged.
Wow.
That's the only way that I can describe it.
Well, you make it sound very beautiful.
It is. It really is. It really is.
So one of the things that's really funny when I do the interviews is I have the list of questions. What happens is I always have to double check what's happening because I might have asked you question number 5, yet you answered 5, 15, and 24. So I always have to double check what's happening.
Okay.
How important is intention, protection, or prayer before starting trance?
Okay, well, you've got 3 elements there. You talk about the intent. I think everybody has to have an intent. If we come in a circle and we are sitting for trance, the intent is we are sitting for trance. So the intent has to be there. And I think within your prayer, you can set that intent as well. For me, the prayer is a very big part of what we do. But again, not everybody thinks that way, but for me personally, the prayer is a way of connecting, because when I say a prayer, I say it as though my team has stood directly in front of me and I'm talking directly to them. So automatically you begin to feel the spirit world draw closer to you through that prayer, especially when it comes from the heart, not the mind. You do hear a lot of people, if they're up on platform, they have one type of prayer that's rehearsed and it's bang, 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 this prayer. But if they just learn to slow down, take a breath and say what's in here rather than what's in here, and they will automatically begin to feel the spirit world just through that power of the prayer. To me, that's very important. And it's to give your thanks as well, because obviously, we're so blessed to be able to do this.
Oh, yes. Why
wouldn't we want to thank them? And the closing in prayer at the end, again, the intent for me in that is to not just to say thank you, because we can all say thank you, but to make it heartfelt and also to see, have we, from the tutor's point of view, have we done what they wanted us to do? Have they enjoyed it? Because it's as much about the spirit world as what it is about the students that are sat in front of you. The spirit worlds are, a big part of this. So we have to ask them, have they enjoyed it too? Have they fulfilled what their intent was for the night? So to me it is, protection. That's a bit I've never been or never understood what it is people need protecting from, apart from other human beings.
Everybody says that. I always bring that question up. They're like, the only protection that's needed is from other people, not from
Absolutely is. when you sit for the spirit world, they will never harm you. Why would they? Why would they harm somebody that they treasure? Because the spirit world do treasure us all. You know, we're doing the work for them. We are, you know, we are setting aside time in our lives to do work for them. Why would they ever want to harm you? You know, they love us unconditionally. The harm comes from ego, from self-obsession and things like that. That's where the harm comes from. So if you're talking about protection, the only thing that I would say to my students is protect yourself from those that are egotistical. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
No need to protect yourself from the spirit world.
No, I love how you said that, because yeah, I absolutely agree with you. With the intention, you're setting the intention to sit for trance, and you know your intention is to blend with your team.
Yes.
Some people ask, do I have to give permission? Do I need to give permission for spirit to blend, to come closer, and blend with me? Is that
absolutely
important?
Absolutely, yes, because at the end of the day you are in control at all times. The spirit world are not in control until you are in the deeper stages of trance, but you again have to give permission for that to happen. You know, if you are not willing for it to happen, it simply won't happen. You know, so yes, I mean, part of the blending process is to say to the spirit world, you know, that I'm ready now. Come and be as one with me. You know, help me to blend with you. You know, and that's part of it. So, but yes, you can stop it. You can come out of a trance state at any point in time if you're not happy. You know, it's only when you get to, say, the deep trance where you are detached from the surroundings and everything that's going on, and that's where you need your sitters to be your mouthpiece.
Wow. Okay. Is it important to ask for calling cards with your in trance? Would you observe and know between the controls a certain calling card?
Yes. If you sit and blend, you know who your team members are because you feel them, and each of your controls that works with you feels different. So if I try and put it in a simple way to you, if you were to sit in a room and your mum was to walk in, or you knew your mum was there, you get a feeling, you get a sense because you know it's your mum. But if a total stranger that walked in with a mask on and things like that, instantly the energy around you would change and you would feel uncomfortable with it. It's the same, very much similar with your team. You get to know their energy. Your alarm bells begin to ring if it's an energy that hasn't blended with you before, because you don't know who they are. You don't know why they're there, because, and this is why you need an anchor or somebody who's very aware of who's blending with you as well. Because your anchor should feel it too. So yeah, so you do. For myself personally, I know that my main control always joins me from the right-hand side. He blends his energy with me from that side. I feel a pull in myself as though I'm going towards him as well. I have another control that comes from behind, but that's a lot bigger energy. I can feel that energy, and I can feel my whole being beginning to rise up and become this big energy. So you get to know who they are just by feeling it. It's so important that you feel into these things.
And I know we were just talking about spirit teams, spirit guides, and controls. Yes. Exactly what is a control?
A control is the spirit person who blends with you through your altered state or trance. That's the person who comes forward to speak.
To speak. Okay.
Yes.
Some people question when they start to get to know the energy that's coming forward. Yes. Whether that's their guide or their control. Some people are really quick to find out who it is. What's their name?
Yes, it's the human nature they need to know. They want to know. But the more you know, the more you will interfere with it. So when you're doing altered states and trance, it's always going to be an element of you and them anyway. It's always going to be that blending process is an element of you and them. But the more you interfere and the more you learn about these people and what they've said during your sitting session, the more that can set a seed in your own mind. So with us, with our circle, I never tell them who's been and who's spoken or what they've said.
Wow.
Even though they want to know, you know, unless they have to know what's been said, we don't tell them. And it's the same with myself in, you know, when we sit for the physical, I'm only ever told things that I need to know about. Otherwise, I'm never told it. And I don't, it took about 3 years to learn to not to want to know, if that makes sense. Because as a human being, it's natural to want to know.
We want to
So
know.
it took a long time to get rid of that thought.
Oh my goodness. Are you aware, like in deep trance, where you go?
Sometimes,
Okay.
yeah, sometimes you are. Sometimes you're aware of being taken on a journey.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes your awareness is detached completely and you can be somewhere else completely. It depends. A lot of it depends because it depends on you, your own mind. It depends on how deep you're going, because there's to a certain degree, there's only so deep that you can go yourself before you have to then surrender to the spirit world and allow them to take you even deeper. So it all depends, because sometimes you just go into the darkness, you know, and you just enveloped by that darkness, which is wonderful. And other times you can be on a little journey. You know, you can be shown things, you can hear things. So it's very dependent on the person, on the day, what sort of day you've had, what the intent of the spirit world is.
So some people have said, like, where they're in trance, and I guess it depends on the
Level.
The level that they're
Mm-hmm.
in. They have complete awareness of what's happening, and then other times, absolutely nothing. They know nothing. Okay.
Yes, and that makes sense, because the deeper you are within that altered state, obviously if you're only in a light trance, you will be aware of your surroundings, you'll be aware of what's being said, and you will also influence what's being said as well. So, but the deeper you go and the deeper the more you can sort of submit your mind and, you know, surrender to the spirit world, the more hold they have of your mind. So the less that you know about it.
Unless you know.
Till you are able to get to the stage where you're completely out of the way. You just go, you know, you go to sleep and you drift off into your own little world, and then they tell you when it's time to come back.
What are some signs one may experience knowing that they're starting to go into trance?
Oh, there's quite a few signs that you can experience. You can start to feel that your heart is beating a little faster. You may feel that you are a little bit dizzy. We call it spirit drunk. Quite cheap. Yes.
Spirit drunk.
You may feel as though your head's a little bit swirly. You can feel a little bit nauseous. You can start to itch, or you've got little twitches. You know, your hands or your fingers may start to twitch a little bit. You can sometimes feel it pulsating in your neck as well, which is uncontrollable. You may have rapid eye movements. There's lots of different signs, but they are all normal.
Okay.
They are all a natural part of somebody else's energy blending with yours.
Okay. When you're sitting and watching somebody go into trance, is there signs that you can observe, or would all of these that you just said about how one would experience it would be the same as observing somebody going into trance?
That depends, because it also depends on if you're sitting in light or if you're sitting in absolute darkness.
Okay.
And because I like my people, not my people, but the people that come here to be in darkness.
Okay.
Not that the spirit world need the darkness, because they don't, but we do as mediums. It's easier for us.
So definitely darkness, and we wouldn't see nothing because it'd be completely dark.
Absolutely, but that teaches you to feel into it.
Really?
If you can't see and you take away that vision, you have no alternative but to feel it. And with trance or altered states, you feel it if a person is in trance. As the sitter, you feel that pulling, you feel them taking energy from you.
Wow.
You know, if you don't feel that, then you know, question whether that person is actually in an altered state and if the spirit world are actually working with them, because you should feel it.
You should feel it.
Yes.
I actually sat for Isabel Duchenne, and
Yeah.
her guide came through, and it would be my first time. Excuse me. And the feeling was crazy. I could feel the energy. And, you know, and this was actually online. And the interesting part was the whole screen, like the whole body. I mean, the shifting, there was some weird shifting.
Yeah.
I could feel that. So, you know, it was crazy. It was beautiful. So, and I don't know why I even went into that, but you kept talking about the feeling. Oh my God.
It is because it's such a big part of it. It really is such a big part of it. And when you've got an anchor who sits for you, they should be able to feel where you are within your altered state. They should be able to tell exactly what's happening to you, who's joining with you. You tend to get what we call a rod that goes from yourself to the anchor, to that other person, so that they're feeling in and throwing their energy to the medium so that they can feel exactly what's happening. So sensing it, when it's, you must learn how to sense these things and how to feel into it and throw your energy. Not just necessarily, you can have, you know, your anchor that throws their energy and looks after the medium from this side of life. Your other sitters could be throwing their energy into the room to find out who else is in the room or what's happening with the energy in the room. You know, do you need to alter it yourselves somehow? So there's so much more to it than just, you know, sort of sitting and blending and doing that. It's amazing, absolutely amazing.
Wow, it sounds amazing.
It is, yeah.
Have you ever experienced any side effects? Some people said they get very nauseous or sick, or when they first started blending with their team, that it would, and they were worried that, you know, was that from the trance, or, you know, have you ever experienced any side effects?
Yes, yeah. But again, they are all normal. What you've just explained there is absolutely normal, because when you go into an altered state and you simply sit, your mind is slowing down, the organs within your body are slowing down, your blood pressure drops slightly, your blood sugar levels can drop slightly, so you get this feeling of nauseousness, which is normal. So when we're talking about the side effects, it's always recommended to come out of that altered state or that trance state slowly and naturally, because it allows your body to readjust back to the normality again. If you come out of it or are snapped out of it, if you've been in a deep trance and something happens, it can make you feel terrible. You can have a banging headache, your nose can bleed, because your body's had to readjust back to normality really quickly. But again, all of that is normal. But people need to have that explained to them, so that when it does happen to them, they're not afraid of it, because that passes over time, and the more you do it, these side effects, they sort of lessen, and you get used to them. You do get used to them.
That's right. I know we touched on this earlier, but I want to re-emphasize it because I think it's so important. Would developing trance be a speedy process? How long typically, I mean, would it take? Would somebody...
I think that depends on the person, because everybody's different. Everybody has a different experience. For some people, that trance state may have been worked on with the spirit world without the medium actually knowing. So, you know, when you could have one person that sits for trance and instantly makes a connection. You know, or you could have somebody that can be sitting for 6-10 years and still only have just little snippets.
Wow.
It all depends on the person, and also if spirit wish to work with you in that way. We mustn't forget that neither. We can't as the mediums decide ourselves what it is we're going to do. I mean, like I told you at the beginning, I didn't want trance. I got no intention of trance. I wanted to be the other medium that gave them messages, but it was taken out of my hands. I mean, now I wouldn't change it for the world. But you can't choose yourself. You can't sit and suddenly say, right, today I'm going to now be a trance medium. You know, it takes time, and you have to see if the spirit world can actually work with you and want to work with you in that way. You know, and we always tell people that when they come to a trance circle or a workshop, we as the tutors cannot make you a trance medium. You know, we can't do that for you, even though they think sometimes that you can and you should. We can't. All we can do is give them the tools and the exercises to go away, to practice, and see if it starts to unfold naturally.
That's good. That's good that you actually say that.
Well, yes, because people come with so many expectations. You know, they think that they're going to come on a trance course for one day and then they'll suddenly be able to speak, you know, and allow that speech to come through them. You know, it doesn't work that way. It really doesn't work that way. So, but yeah, it's the one thing we make very clear at the beginning of anything that we do, you know, and I'll say to them, hands up, I will, you know, I cannot make you a trance medium.
No.
So, that's honesty.
You know, I actually thought of a new question that's not on the list. So I just was thinking about something that you said. Do you feel like our team work with us when we're sleeping?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. And the reason that I believe that is because there's times myself with the schedule that I've got that I don't have time to sit. So I actually give my team permission to work with me while I'm asleep.
Oh, wow.
So the moment that I go to bed and the lights go out and I go into that darkness and close my eyes, my bed almost feels like it becomes a waterbed.
Really? Wow.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, I feel the movement and the swaying, and I can feel that, physically feel that as I'm lying in the bed. And instantly it's like, okay, here we go then. And I just say to them, go for it, just don't wake me up.
That is so good. That is so good. Oh my goodness. Is there any advice that you could give someone forming his or her own circle?
First off, I think the biggest thing is make sure that whoever is going to lead that circle has done their research. Make sure that they are trained themselves. Because sitting for trance yourself and then going out and tutoring trance are two completely different things. Because you have to be able to understand the questions that these people are going to ask you. You have to be able to link yourself with every single person that's in that circle. Some people have only ever been used to linking with a partner if they're, you know, they're pairing up with somebody to do an exercise. But when you teach it and you are there in that moment and everybody in your circle is all blending, you have to be able to link with every single person in that circle. So they've got to understand the process. They've got to be able to understand how it's working, how it affects your body. So if they're going to do it, research it first. Go and talk to other trance tutors or trance mediums. Go and sit with them, experience it yourself before you can then take it up. But by all means, I mean, I would, the more that can do this and experience this, I would encourage it all the way.
Wow. That's a lot of good advice. It really is. And I know you keep emphasizing having that person that's the leader understand and really educate.
It is because there's so many out there that that haven't got the full understanding of it, and they may be teaching their students in a way that isn't necessarily always the correct way. And I'm not down in any of the tutors by all means, because we all do it differently. But if the tutor doesn't understand it, how on earth are the students going to understand it?
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
You know?
Absolutely right.
And as a tutor, like I said to you in that message, in my opinion, knowledge is for sharing, but tutoring is for caring.
Oh, I know. I love when you said that. Yes.
Because you have to care about your student. You have to care about their journey. You have to care about them, not just whilst they're sat in that circle, but you have to care when they go home and they practice alone. You have to care when they've got a problem or something's not right. So as the tutor, you've got to be prepared to be there for your students whenever they need you. You know, they may sit one night and have an experience that they don't understand and be on the phone within 5 minutes saying, this has happened, what do I do? You have to be prepared to give them that time.
Yes. Wow. Yeah, a lot to think about for sure, especially a lot of work to do for a team leader or a circle leader.
It's a commitment. It's a commitment not only obviously to the spirit world, which is our first commitment, but it's a commitment to your students. You know, it's just I can't explain it. The passion is just, you know, to make sure that people have that understanding. You know, it's fantastic that we're able to do this, what, you know, that we're doing tonight, just to be able to help more people understand it.
Yes, and you know what? And I do agree. There's like the passion. You have to be passionate to.
You've got to be. You've got to be. And I think that once this type of mediumship touches you, it touches you so deeply that nothing else compares to it. You know, it touches you in a way that you will never be the same again.
Yeah. No.
You know, and that's what I love. That's what I want people to experience. I want them to be able to sit in that darkness and just feel that love. You know, and feel the excitement of the spirit world, that people are actually sitting for them.
Wow.
You know, because they get excited as well.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. You know, I'm trying to look at my questions, like we're at the very end, and I'm like, okay, I know she answered this one. But I wanted to ask, I know you don't have it on this, because now I'm thinking of more questions.
Okay.
Music. Is music important for people to, some people, I mean, I know I like music.
Yes.
Is it important?
Yes, very important.
Okay.
It is from my perspective anyway, because music can change the vibration in a room. Music can alter the energy within the room. So it's important that you get the type of music that, number one, feels right for whoever's sitting, but also feels right for the room. And we have several discs that we use. If we need to build the energy a little bit more, we have what we call our energy building type of music.
Oh.
If we need more of a passive, we have the sort of trance, the Lisa Gerrard's. I don't know whether you've heard of Lisa Gerrard. We have that type of music. The very gentle, very more meditative type of music. So you can alter it depending on what music you have, you know, that's playing in the room. So to me, music's very important. Okay,
good. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love music, and I know that it can completely shift even just your
completely mood. I mean, if your intent was to sit and meditate, you'd want the type of music that is relaxing, that's calming. You wouldn't want Indian drums being played while you're meditating and having a real strong beat. Whereas if you want to power build, then you have that type of music. You use the sort of music that's lively, that's upbeat. And obviously, to raise the vibrations even more is to sing. Yeah. Which my neighbours love.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So we are actually at our final question.
Okay.
Is there any advice or any final advice that you would give to someone just starting their trance?
Take your time. Take your time. Let it unfold naturally. Take and listen to every opportunity that you get, anything that comes your way, and go and see other mediums work. Experience different ways of working. And if you go to one workshop or medium and something resonates with you, take it. But if another part of it doesn't, let that go. Because only take on board what feels right for you, because we are all so different. But my biggest one is, I think the biggest advice is, before anything, learn to sit. Learn to simplify it and just sit in that darkness and have the spirit world around you, because it's worth its weight in gold. But, yeah, take your time and enjoy it. Enjoy it. Don't be afraid of it.
Well, I think that's like the best advice. And just sit and sit.
Yes, and sit simply. Don't complicate it. There's too many things, you know, too many people want to complicate things. It should be the most natural thing in the world, just to go and sit. Well, you know, and be as one with the spirit world.
You know what? I can feel your energy. You have such love-based energy. So much right here, right in my heart, you know? I can feel it from you.
It's bursting to come out.
I'm so grateful to you, Caz, for
Well, you're more than welcome.
for us setting this up. I'm so glad that we got to do it quicker than I thought. I thought I was gonna have to wait weeks for you to
Obviously, it was guided by the other world.
oh my goodness, yes. So
But yeah, I can't thank you enough for allowing this opportunity for myself to sit, in my little living room and to be able to talk to you like this.
no, you've really helped me because I know that everything that you shared, others will relate to.
I hope so. I do hope so, because I think the more that we can get this out there, the more that we can talk about the reality of altered states and trance, the less fear people will have of it.
I know, and like I said, that's my mission. That is my mission.
Absolutely.
Here.
Well, I'm a lady like you as well, then.
Oh my goodness, and I'm so grateful to all the people that have helped me with this, and that's why you're up there, and I'm going to be sharing and
oh, bless you.
everybody. So,
thank you.
Thank
you for giving me this time.
Oh my goodness, thank you. So I do want to mention again, so your group is called the Acorn
Academy of Mediumship.
And then through your CDs, and that is from cdbaby.com?
Yeah, they're available to download on cdbaby.com. Or obviously they can get them on hard CD directly from myself.
Okay.
Yes, and then I've just got my website as well.
And you also offer workshops, and then you can see
workshops. We do we do courses. I do evenings. We do also anything that people are looking for. One of the things that we're trying to branch out into now is that we're noticing a lot of circles that are struggling or not knowing what direction to go in. So we actually invite that circle to come as a whole and sit, and then we can assess what they're doing. We can listen to the spirit world to say where are they going wrong, what is it that they need to do to move forward with this. So that's one of the things at the moment is a bit of a priority really, is to allow circles to come as a whole and actually sit how they would normally sit, so that maybe we may be able to shed some light on how they can move forward or what they can do, so that they can move forward together as a group.
Oh my God, that's a great service to do, to help others with. That is beautiful.
I think so, because there's a lot of people out there, they don't know who to go to. They don't know, when things start to go wrong in a circle, and they can go wrong in circles, either the circle tends to disband and they all go their separate ways. And sometimes it can just be something simple that they need to alter or change, and they can go forward then together as a group. So that's one of, the things that seems to be coming to the forefront at the moment.
Oh my goodness.
So hopefully.
Hopefully that sounds great. But everybody check out and join the website. That's a group, right? The Facebook group? The
Facebook group, yeah. So there's usually advice on there as well, or it's open for anybody to ask questions.
Okay.
I can't always guarantee that I will know the answer, but I've got a lot of friends obviously that I can turn to as well and try and get an answer for them if I don't know the answer. But I'll do my very best for them.
So I will definitely make sure to put the CD Baby website up with the interview, as well as share your group. I'll show your group in the groups today so that people can do as well. But oh my goodness, Caz, thank you so much.
No, thank you. It's been a pleasure. I feel so blessed that I've been able to do this.
Thank you. Oh my God. And I know it's going on 9 o'clock for you almost?
It's just quarter to 9 at night. Yeah.
Quarter to 9. Okay, so you have a fabulous rest of your evening.
I am. I'm actually about to sit after I've finished with you.
Okay, so you have a wonderful night and a wonderful sitting, and thank you again.
Yeah, and good luck with everything you're trying to do. I think it's a fantastic thing that you're doing.
Thank you so very much.
Okay, you take care and we'll speak soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.